AAU season in August, advice for college hopefuls, JWILLY's recruitment to UVA, one surprise guest, and more. Welcome to the JWILLY Show. I'm Mark Jerome, and the bearded gentleman is Jason Williford. Forum, we still want to hear from you. Please send a question in to lockerroomaccess.com. If your question is selected, you will receive 2 packets of Moji Masala. Listeners, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube. You can actually do that right now, and you can also like us. Additionally, subscribe to us on Apple or Spotify. Coach, several recruiting questions this week. Before we get to those, outside of the NCAA extending the dead period through July 31st, not a ton of national news in college basketball. I am hearing tournament organizers may be planning for an AAU season late or early August through early fall. So much is still unknown. What advice do you have for sophomores and juniors who are looking to be recruited?
Stay ready. I think they just need to continue to, if they got access to a facility, an outdoor hoop, just continue to work on your game, condition. By now, everyone in the country that's playing basketball should be phenomenal ball handlers because they should be spending tons of hours on ball handling and shooting if they've got access to a hoop. Conditioning will come as you get back in the gym and you start practicing. But what I've got a 13-year-old, you often hear me talk about Cameron, my youngest, but what I've told my 13-year-old is kind of watch film and study old players and watch games. And he's always on the internet watching games and just picking players apart, games apart, and what he likes and dislikes and trying to imitate those guys when he goes outside. So kind of brush up on your film study, watch ball, but ball handle and shoot if you can. And if you can go outside, run and condition and try to stay in as much shape as possible. There is talk about, like you said, potentially getting back out there for us in AAU programs. I think they came up with 3 potential dates if feasible, one in August, one in September, and one in October, all 3 weekends, specifically for AAU tournaments. So it looks like, knock on wood, we'll get a chance to see them. I don't know if I'll be flying. Hopefully they're all driving distance because I don't want to get on a plane, but it looks like we may be allowed out if things continue to progress in obviously COVID numbers don't increase. I think we'll have a chance to see those kids.
Right. So it sounds like you guys have started to develop a little bit of a plan to get out there recruiting.
Yeah, I mean, so much is still unknown. We haven't truly discussed a plan. And again, it all depends on where events are. If things are going to be more regional, I don't know if it's going to be a true EYBL season. It may just have events in different regions, and you'll get a chance to go and see kids in those areas. So I think a lot's to be determined, especially for event organizers and the shoe companies, those different Adidas and Under Armour and Nike circuits. I'm not sure exactly what they're going to do, but if we're allowed out, it looks like the NCAA will potentially grant 3 weekends in late summer, early fall.
With so many unknowns, it's definitely going to be a unique situation. And it sounds like if there is a season, only teams and college coaches are going to be permitted to attend. Is that what you're hearing too?
Yeah, I heard teams, immediate family members, I think, parents, and then coaches, college coaches. So it sounds that way. Again, I don't know, Mark. I've actually heard there were discussions about maybe just having the teams with videotapes and coaches being able to watch live those games being broadcasted with just the teams in the gym. So again, I don't know. We're a ways from that. We're still trying to figure out if we're going to school and we're going to have our guys back. It looks like there's some plans to open up UVA in the fall. So we're just fingers crossed.
Yep. As far as recruits, how often do you currently stay in touch with them? Is it once a week? Is it 3 times a week? Is each kid different?
Yeah, it's different. Obviously, the rules have changed where you can communicate as often as you want. It used to be when I was coming up, it was once a month, I think, or maybe my rules were different. It was they could contact us as often, but at least once a month was it the rule. Then it was once a week, and now it's unlimited calls and texts. So each kid's different. Some kids prefer not to talk as often. You don't have to stay in touch as much. And then there's others who love the recruitment and want to hear from you as often as possible. So go ahead.
Or the parents.
Or the parents.
Or feel like they're.
Yeah, you're either calling the kid once a week and then the parent once a week. Obviously different days, but it just depends on the kid and the situation. Yeah. Obviously, I try to stay in touch with most of the guys at least once a week that I'm recruiting. I just want them to not feel like we're forgetting about them.
Yep.
Because they do take notes and they compare. Hey, you guys haven't been there as often as such and such, so we want to hang in and be in the race.
Absolutely. I know when my younger one, Kobe's starting to get calls and texts.
Oh, yeah.
Every time he sends me a text, somebody called me. I'm like, well, when are they calling me?
Well, hey, listen, there are some parents that if you don't talk to them, forget about it. You're automatically off the list.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
We would never do that. That's just not my MO. I try to at least talk to the parents a couple times. Obviously, you want to grow the relationship with the kid, but you have to talk to the parents a few times just to get to know them. And then some parents tell you, hey, don't worry about me. You talk to my son. So some want out of it. Some want all of that recruiting.
I wouldn't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I know. That I know.
Listen, while you're out recruiting players, how much time do you need to watch a kid before you know he has what it takes to play at your level?
Sometimes I know it right away. Sometimes it takes, a few games, seeing a kid maybe 3-4 times, 5 times. But there's some kids where you see it, and those are the no-brainers. And then there are other kids that have to grow on you. And obviously you want to see, if you see a kid once and you're like, God, he's intriguing, but I don't know about the competition level. Then you want to see a kid going up against better comp. And if what you saw was for real, can they do it against the same level of a caliber of player that you think that kid is? So being able to see kids in different settings.
Right. And what is for you the highest level of setting?
Well, I mean, there's very good high school ball. I mean, depending on what league you're playing in, and then obviously the AAU. On all circuits, when you go up against some of the better teams, the Peach Jam is a phenomenal event with all the better Nike teams, and then you got the top tier of the Adidas and Under Armour teams when you get into tournament play and those kids are going head to head against each other. Obviously you see it there. Last year they allowed top 100 camp. We were able to see kids at that NBA camp. So you're seeing the quote unquote best go against the best. Yep. Those are good settings.
As a fan, I can choose one event all year. A high school, an AAU, Under Armour, or Nike, an Adidas. What event are you sending me to see the best of the best?
To see the best?
Yeah.
Ooh, I'd probably say Peach Jam.
Yep.
but then there are different events, man. If you go to Springfield and you see the Hall of Fame Classic during the high school season with those elite teams. Keith Stevens does an event in D.C., the National Hoops Fest, where he brings in some of the best talent. That's a heck of a field. But if you twisted my arm, I'd probably say Peach Jam.
Yeah, I mean,
I got to stay loyal to the swoosh.
It's such a remarkable event, and I always tell everybody, if you have a chance, you definitely want to check that out. It is literally the best of the best, and also it's a who's who in college basketball coaching. If you're into that, every college coach is there.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It's big time. It's it really is. But then you go to Vegas, and then when those Nike teams play against those Adidas teams, Gary Charles does that event out in Vegas. Man, I mean, you got Compton Magic going against a takeover. You got, something like that.
Yep.
That's big time, And those teams want to get after each other because they want to prove, who's the best.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good.
The only thing about that tournament is not everybody goes and not everybody plays. And also it's the end of the summer.
Right. So
some people are a little tired.
Yeah, but I've seen some really good competitive games in that setting. Especially when you get the cross shoe companies that they get a chance to go against each other.
Yep.
Then it's on. Those guys want to prove that they're better than each other. So
phenomenal tournament.
Those are fun. Yeah.
And for those people that like to gamble a little bit, you're in a great setting, right?
I stay away from the casino. I stay out of there. I work too hard for this money, Mark.
Good. I hear that. I know that's right.
I can't give it away.
I know that's right. So listen, when you're recruiting a kid, maybe outside of Dre, do you ever get a sense of when you think you're going to land a kid?
Sometimes, yes, because they tell you, you're our favorite. If you guys offer, this is where we want to be, so where you stand. But man, I'll tell you this: 95% of the time, these kids and these families have poker faces, and they can keep you guessing, and you just never know. You get an idea that you're in good shape. You're going to be maybe top 3 or in the top 5 when they cut their list. But they got poker faces, man. They can play possum with the best of them. So sometimes I know when it's obvious and they tell us, but then there are a lot of times, you're praying, fingers crossed, hoping we've done enough to get a kid. So
yeah. I know. So I'm thinking back when Ty was being recruited by UVA, and we came in and we sat down and we went to the football game and went to the coach's office or whatever the big luxurious suite is in the football stadium.
Yeah.
And Bennett said, "Hey, we're offering you." Right? I mean, he had already verbally offered in the summer, late summer.
I want you. You're my guy. I want you here.
Right. You got to let me know, because I got other guys calling me and texting me and who want to come here. Right. And so there's a little bit of a game on both sides, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Right. But, I mean, I was so flattered and impressed. Like, Virginia wants him, right? So we're on our way home going, all right, where are you going to go that's outside the ACC or in the AC that's going to be better than this ACC?
Right.
Great school, not too far from home. So, I mean, when you guys come knocking on the door, it's big time. Well, right? I mean, if there is bigger, there aren't too many that are bigger.
It's big time for a lot of the kids, quite honestly, that we recruit, Mark, because we haven't gone head to head with all the 5 stars. Like we don't battle for the McDonald's All-Americans. We just haven't gone after that caliber of guy. Not that we wouldn't, but Tony wants a special kid. He wants a kid that's going to buy into his philosophy, buy into what UVA is about, what our pillars stand for. And so the kids that we kind of target, we are fairly special. So we got a sense, we got a good shot with some of these guys. We haven't run many races where we stay in all the way through November and you're up against the signing period to get a kid. We just, honestly, we haven't done that. A lot of the kids we get, we may be their best offer. Yep. And we like that. We like that position because we know, we don't have to fight too hard for those guys.
Yeah. One kid that I thought was going to end up at Virginia and ended up going to Baylor, the point guard. What's his name?
Butler, Jared Butler.
Yeah. I was a little surprised he didn't come to UVA, ended up going to Baylor, but maybe he wanted to play his freshman year and start his freshman year.
Well, yeah, that kid's pretty good. And it ultimately came down to him or Kihei. And, I think Jared, if I'm not mistaken, committed to Alabama before going to Baylor. And then he got out of that and ended up transferring to Baylor or changing his commitment. But Kihei beat him to the punch. And I tell you what, we're glad we got Kihei.
I don't think anyone's going to argue with that.
During
the season, maybe a little bit. Maybe a few people argue during the regular season. He put it together.
We don't do what we did the year before without Kihei.
Yep.
So, yeah,
I don't think there's any argument there. All right, every coach misevaluates at some point on either side, right? Maybe somebody who they didn't think was going to pan out to be such a good player. Maybe they thought somebody was going to be really good and never panned out.
Mm-hmm.
Who were some guys that surprised you and improved much more than you anticipated?
Improved much more?
Improved more or much more, either way.
I don't know, Mark. That's hard because I think the guy, like, we got an idea of who they are, and we know that with what we do development wise, that if they just stay true, mm-hmm. that they'll get better and their games will take off. Sometimes it doesn't happen nearly as fast for us or for them. Like, they want it right away. And sometimes it takes a season or two. But for the most part, the guys that we get, they are who we think they're going to be and we want them to be. But I would say, you could go down the list of guys that either really improved. I think all of our guys over time just get better within our system. If you twisted my arm and you told me Malcolm Brogdon was going to be Rookie of the Year in the NBA, and he'd be making $90 million or whatever the heck he's making now, and he was going to be that good of a player, from the time I first saw him, I would have said, no way. Kudos to Richie who recruited him. But Malcolm just worked. He got better in the system. Devin Hall was the same way. I think guys, and I'm talking about two guys that got drafted, that just kept working at their craft. And to their credit, man, they got better and better. Even Joe from year one to year four improved big time. You see it now with Jay Huff. You see Jay from his first year to now being, next year he'll be a fifth-year senior. Jay's gotten better every year, and I think he's starting to just really scratch the surface of how good he's going to be. So that's a hard one because I do think all of our guys, even the guys that leave in 2 years, 3 years, however early they leave, those guys improve big time.
Right. Yeah, even we could go back to Kihei again.
Absolutely.
Right. Who knew he was going to be such a star performer in the tournament?
Well, and I do think being on the floor, trusting, and having really good players around you helps. We've been fortunate to have some good players over the last 5 or 6 years when we've kind of taken off. you got good players on the floor. And so Kihei didn't have to do a whole lot, but when you got good players around you, you tend to step your game up and you elevate. You become a product of your environment, I like to say. You have to be good to be on the floor with those guys. And so you step your game up.
Right. So I think it's fairly easy at the highest level when you're recruiting. Like you can tell who's the best player on the court, top 3, 4, 5 players on the court. But how do you know to evaluate someone mentally, and how do you determine someone's work ethic?
Ooh, that's a hard one. You gotta watch them practice. You gotta watch them over the years, and you see if they're improving their game, adding something to their game, then that's a product of work. So you gotta trust that they've been in the gym. You trust kind of coaches and you got a track record of guys that have developed other players. So if they're coming from a certain program, you know that they're working. And that goes for high school and or AAU. If certain programs develop their guys, and you trust that. But work ethic, I mean, it's innate. Either you got it or you don't. I think, and it's a hard one to see if you don't have a lot of exposure to guys. And then the toughness, the mental toughness piece. You kind of want kids that have gone through some type of adversity, whatever it may be. Not necessarily injury all the time, but those help, going through an injury and overcoming that, whatever their home situation is, overcoming that speaks for a level of mental toughness that a kid will have. And so, recruiting's not just, what you see on the floor. You got to dig a little deeper. And so we do that.
Yep. I was smiling a little bit because I had a friend who coaches with me at AAU, and he's always talking about how he's going to recruit kids from war-torn countries, right? Because those are the dudes that are going to be ready to go to battle under any circumstances.
Hey, you talk about like the Lithuanian and the Yugoslavs and those kids, those teams were tough, man, because of the war-torn where they had to come from. I played against Drazen Petrovic.
Ooh.
And I was on a college all-star team that went over, and we were in Spain. And Petrovic, Tony Kukoc was supposed to play. He didn't. Dina Raja. I mean, they had like 5, 6 pros. They were really good. And those dudes were tough as nails, man. But, they were from Eastern Bloc, and so the Lithuanians and those guys, they're tough customers. You know what you're getting.
I watched Drazen score 44 on the Nets with Derek Coleman, that team that was really good. Houston. One of the year Houston won the championship.
He gave me unreal. Yuri Barnes and myself, my college roommate, were on a team. Kerry Kittles, Yinka Dare, Paul Grant, who I think Dick Bennett coached. We all went over and was people-to-people all-stars. Paul Biancardi was the coach, and Mike Jarvis Jr. was his assistant. We're over in Spain. Drazen gave us 40 in an exhibition game. He was shooting from half court. It was crazy. I was like, this dude's unbelievable.
He really was.
No, it was crazy.
Yeah. Let's take it back to the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
What was your recruitment process like coming to UVA? And by the way, we had Jeff Jones on earlier on our Locker Room Access podcast.
Oh, wow.
And he basically said your mother engineered everything. You didn't really have a say. And you were committed by the time you were a freshman. He sat down. He referred to your dad as Big Ford. He sat down with him a couple of times. But it really wasn't, you had nothing to do with it.
I'll say this. JJ likes to take a lot of the credit that it was the easiest recruiting ever. I grew up a Duke fan, all right? So Duke signed Grant Hill the year before my class. They weren't going to recruit anybody in that position. Now, I knew who Grant was. He was at South Lakes in Northern Virginia, being a Richmond kid. Everybody in the state. there was no way I was going to sit behind Grant for 3 years, 3 of my 4 years. So Pitt was my second favorite school because my mother's from Pittsburgh. I love everything Pittsburgh. If they had a pro basketball team, that'd be my basketball team. So Jeff had to work a little bit, but between my high school coach and my dad and mom, it was pretty much over well before my junior year. I kind of already knew where I was going to go.
He said if you had any debate about this, any rebuttal, he said just ask him if he took any other visits.
I did not take any other official, but I took a couple unofficial, and that was it. First official visit, mom and dad come. They put me at the Omni. They put mom and dad at the Boar's Head. Junior is on the official visit with me, and Corey Alexander. And Corey and I have been playing AAU together since we were 13. And so, they knew what they were doing. They got 2 of my boys on the official visit. You know, we kind of grew up playing against Junior the whole time. It was over. Mom was sold on the academics. Dad was sold on ACC and being able to get his hands on me if something went wrong. So it was over. It was over.
So I got to give Mrs. Williford, your mom, a lot of credit to some of these questions today. Big shout out to her. And she actually asked this one too, in addition to a few of the other ones. I didn't even know you played for your dad in high school. He was your assistant high school coach.
He was my middle school head coach. He was my high school assistant and AAU assistant. He's been with me the whole time.
What was it like playing for your dad?
It was pretty cool. In middle school, I'll toot my own horn. I was fairly good. So it's easy to play. When you're good, it's easy to play for your dad because you're not like the guys can't say, well, you're only playing because your dad's the coach. Well, I was playing because I was better than half of the dudes on the team. That's why I was starting and playing. But it was fun playing for him. He was there every tournament, almost every game. The hardest part is when you don't play well and you got to get in the car and the car rides home and he's telling you, well, why didn't you do this? And how come you didn't do that? I'm like, Dad, I don't want to hear that. Right? I already know I didn't play well, all right? So those were the difficult times. But for the most part, it was fairly easy. And then not being my head coach, he was the assistant. The head coach, he rode me hard all the time. But, as an assistant, he kind of had to play a little bit of good cop because my high school coach was hard on me.
Yeah. I wonder if it would have been different if he were your head coach in your high school.
It would have been a lot different. But again, it wouldn't have been any debate because I would have been one of the top 5. I would have started. So that makes it easy.
Dinners at home might have been a little different.
Yeah, maybe. Listen, he's still as opinionated as anybody. Especially when I got to college, he'd be like, how come you ain't shooting the ball? How come you're not doing this? Why are you throwing it to Junior all the time? Shoot the ball. So I got that all the time.
Something else I don't know anything about.
Yeah, exactly. No, but he's behind my sister. He's my number 2 fan. My sister's my number 1 fan. Baby girl.
All right. So last week, Walt Williams and your sons are the surprise guests.
Uh-oh.
Any idea who it is this week?
I give up with these surprise guests, Mark. I got no clue. I listen, there was no way I thought the Wizard was coming on. So I got no clue now.
Well, what was the biggest surprise, your boys or the Wiz?
The Wiz. Because at some point I wanted to put the boys on. So, I'm glad you guys got them on. Yeah. I wanted them to jump in. But the Wizard, I had no idea he even knew the JWILLY show. So
one day, I think I'm going to give you multiple choice questions because this is hard. Because it could be anybody, right? Especially if we just went out and got the Wizard.
Yeah, it could be anybody. It could be my mom tonight, for all I know.
If she didn't provide us with some of these questions, that actually was a thought.
Was she going to be this week's guest?
She's not, but it was a thought.
Come on, I tell you that right now. She would not do it.
So if she does come on, it's going to be a surprise then.
If she comes on, it won't be video. It'll be audio only. She is not going on camera. I can tell you that right now.
Can y'all hear me?
Oh, there he is. There he is. Can you see him, Willie?
I see him now. Tricky
Richard Morgan.
What's up?
Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I wouldn't miss this for nothing.
What's up, Richard?
What's up, man? Hey, the look got you looking a little bit like Bin Laden, man. We got to get that cut off because they might come get you.
Hey, a month ago I had hair. My son cut my hair last night, so at least I don't have the bush. What's up, man?
Richard.
I don't know it, man. I just wanted to come on here and, boy, I've been watching a couple of them. I missed the Walt Williams one, but I got to see June, of course.
Walt talked up too that week.
I got to see the first one, and then I got to see June. So that was,
gotcha.
It's been good, man. I'm glad they're doing this. This is Mark. Hey, this is great, man. I appreciate you doing this.
Hey, Walt was talking about you last week. He talked about your senior day where you lit them on fire, Rich, and then you went to kiss Mom.
We was just talking about that, man. That you know what, man? That was a great night, man. And I asked Coach Holland, "This is it now. I'm not going back in, right?" He said, "No, you're not going back in. You're done." I said, "Great." And I took off, and he looking at me like, "What is this nut doing?" He know I'm crazy anyway. You know, I'm crazy anyway. So he was like, "Man, this really is crazy." And then when I came back down out of the stands, he goes, "You know what? You never cease to amaze me. I don't never know what you're going to do. On the court, off the court." He was like, "I just never know, man." But it was great that he let me do that. And obviously that the referees let me do it because I should have gotten a technical and all that. But you know, it was a special moment, man. It was a special moment. And like I was sharing earlier, it's just, you know, I just wanted to publicly thank my parents for everything, you know, always coming to the games and, you know, always being there and, you know, no matter what, you know, my dad was there no matter what, rain, snow, sleet, he didn't care. He was going to be there. And so, you know, I always worried about him getting there. And then I was cool after I saw him up in their spot. But up until then, you know, I was a little nervous because you know, that's, even though it's 2 hours, it's still, that's a lot of traveling, you know, every time we had a game. So then to go back home and then he got up and went to work.
You like me. I for games, I always had to look. I had to see, all right, are they in their seats?
Yeah. And then I'm good. And then I'm good, you know, and everybody be like, no.
Now we can jump it up. They're in their seats. We can jump it up. Let's go.
Yeah. Then, all right, let's go now. I'm ready now. So that was, it took me a while to get used to, but after a while, but it was never easy, like you said, because I got to know that they in the seat and everything's good. And now, okay, I can party now. So
there you go.
But it was always a good thing just to, you know, just to show them that you appreciate all their hard work to put you there. And, you know, coming there was, it was tough coming to Virginia, man. I got up there, I told my dad, I think I'm in the wrong place because these mothers in here, woo, this classroom up in here is something else, boy. So, you know, he said, no, just you good. You supposed to be there. And I was like, all right. So if you tell me I am, I'm gonna work then. So, you know, like I was, you know, I was sharing earlier with some other people, man, just, you know, trying to go up there just to fit in and you know, not, you know, I was just a little country boy. I ain't know nothing.
You're still a country boy. You still a country boy.
I know, still to the heart, all the way. I ain't gonna lie. Hey, ain't no need to front. I'm not up there from Brooklyn or Flatbush and none of them up there where he is.
You're still a country boy.
New York City, Manhattan.
Mark got a few questions for you, Rich.
Well, Rich has questions for you, actually.
Oh.
Yeah.
Rich has 2 questions. Go ahead, Rich. Let's hit him with number 1.
JWILLY, what was the experience you had when you got off of the plane in Charlottesville after the national championship game?
Woo-wee, boy. Hey, I tell you what, I was emotional after we beat Purdue to finally go to the Final Four. I cried in the locker room because we wasn't supposed to win that game. I don't know how to this day. But when we got back and we landed at the airport and those fans were there and hey man, I was crying. I had tears coming down, and then we got on the bus and they did the water hose. You know how the water, they're shooting the water guns at the airport. The bus goes through the water guns And the whole way back from the airport to JPJ, streets were lined with fans, holding up signs. People stopped on the side of the road, got out there. Hey, man, like, that's what it was all about. Like, that's what, like, I had a good time winning, but once we got back here and you could celebrate with everybody back here, that I was so emotional. And then we get to JPJ and they got hundreds of thousands of people in front of JPJ waiting on us. I mean, this was crazy, man. It was.
All right, when they parked the bus up there up top, tell me how it was coming back down. This is my favorite part.
At that point, the emotion's gone. I'm giddy at this point. No more tears. I'm high-fiving everybody. I'm in my element. Because we waited so long to win that. You know, guys like yourself, Rich, you know, you guys had gone to an Elite Eight. Sticks had gone to a Final Four. My teams had gone to Elite. We were so close over the years. And for me, it was for all the basketball alumni, for all of us to enjoy, and then for the whole fan base. I'm a proud alum. And so to have, to finally bring this thing back home for everybody, man, when we got to go and I could shake hands and I finally could get to the fans, I was like a kid in the candy shop. I'm high-fiving everybody. You'd have thought I played.
I told you, Mark, man, I'm telling you, man, that was my favorite story. He sat there and told me the whole thing. It was like I was there because he took me through from the airport all the way to the parking up at the top of JPJ and walking down through that. And it was just wonderful, man.
No,
I knew that would be a good one for him.
It was so much for the fan base, so much for the, for UVA family. That it meant the world to me.
Hey, that's what's up. I'm gonna ask you the second question. You ready?
Okay.
How were you able to bridge the gap between the former players and this coaching staff?
That was easy. I think I was fortunate to get on Tony's staff, and being a former player has its advantages. You're able to get your foot in the door. So when Tony hired me, part of my mission was to make sure we kept in contact with the basketball alumni.
Because a lot of the other ones didn't.
Well, but for me, I understood how important it was because when I played, I appreciated guys like yourself, like Drew Kennedy, that came back and poured into us young guys. Stiff. You guys would play summer pickup ball with us. You were always around. Ivoroni. So being able to bring all of those guys back in the fold, I just felt like it was natural. We're family. Right. I wanted those guys to feel like they could come to the staff. They could, they're always welcome. Part of after we won it all, my suggestion to coach was, let's send everybody some championship memorabilia. All right, so there it is. We sent T-shirts, we sent the book, Rich, like everybody got, and so, with the help of VAF, that was able to get done. And so I thought, it was a natural bringing the basketball alumni back in the fold. I don't know what other staffs did, but that, to me, family's always big. And we promote that. When we recruit, we're a family. So I want them to know guys like yourself. I want them to know Park Hill. I want them to know Sticks. I want them to know all of those guys that came before us. Those guys got to know that history. And they got to, it's a fraternity. I mean, we're a fraternity within ourselves. And so former players are always welcome, man. That was easy. That was an easy bridge to fix.
And I think that was the big thing for me is just, and other guys that I've talked to, obviously, it's just that you kind of sealed that up for us. And that made us feel so much better and so much a part of it. And, that I think that's really when it really got going is once you got that family part involved and took it to the next level.
And I think it's hard, you know, sometimes, and I don't know what the other staffs, what the makeup was, but if you don't have a former player, it's hard to bridge that gap, you know.
Right.
But me being able to pick up the phone and I can call yourself or, you know, all of my teammates, I could call, you know, hey, listen, we want come to the game, or we want you guys to do this and come to a practice. That was easy. I mean, how many practices you been to, Rich? You've been to shoot. You probably got to pack down more than we do.
I'm trying. I am definitely trying. I'll be back too. You can count on that, especially since we couldn't really do anything in this postseason. I gotta get back up there and get some more knowledge, man.
Yeah.
Rich, thanks so much for coming on. We look forward to having you on the Locker Room Access podcast and sharing your UVA experience. Because as we talked about earlier, you really had a great experience and a great time during your
jersey
school.
there behind you too.
It's you know, number 11. You, Dougie Smith, and Ty Jerome, right?
Right number, that's for sure. He definitely picked the right number. I was really excited then, boy. But I appreciate you having me, man. And JWILLY, man, keep up the good work. We so proud of you, man, and we proud of the Who's. And you know, we just thank you every day for what y'all doing up there, and just keep it rolling, man.
Hey, I appreciate you for coming on, man. You stay safe. Tell the family hello.
I will, man. Thanks so much. Thanks,
right.
Mark.
Talk to you soon, Rich. Thanks so much for joining.
Yeah,
really
buddy.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Be safe.
Hey, that's my boy.
Yeah, no. I got a chance to speak to him earlier. He's just such a nice dude.
Good country boy is what he is. Good old country boy.
As I tell all you guys are all country to me growing up in New York City. Right? I used to tell people in college, I got more people in my building than you got in your whole town.
That's true. That's
right?
true.
You know, New York City. All right. We got one more question for you.
Yep.
Goes back to your boys, your sons.
Okay.
Right? We know you had some difficulty working with Cam, right? While you're watching them play. What's that?
It's over though now, Mark.
Yeah, it's over. We got, yeah.
Good. I mean, hey.
Stress-free. Home sailing for the summer. While you're watching your boys play basketball, is that stressful? And what are your reactions if they have a turnover or if they miss a shot or make a bad play?
I must admit, I said I wasn't going to be that dad.
Yeah.
And I try hard. I sit on my hands. But then there are times where I find myself coaching from the stands. But I'm always coaching him. Either one of them. I'm trying to give them pointers, or if I get frustrated, you know, I always tell Austin, turn and face. He wants to put the ball down first before he, you know, turns and gets a triple threat. He wants to immediately floor it. So I'm always yelling, turn and face, turn and face. So he finally, this one tournament, he finally does it. He turns, he faces, he fakes a shot. The guy jumps. He then goes by him and he lays it up. And he's running down the floor and he's pointing at me like, it worked, it worked. And I'm like, yeah, I told you so. You got to listen to me. But I try not to be that dad, but it's in me. And I often beg my wife not to be that mom. But my wife has gotten into altercations in the stands with the opposing team. And so I have to control and watch her more than I actually get to watch the game sometimes. So she's worse than me, but it gets difficult. But for the most part, I'm pretty calm. I just sit and watch, and I give them both the eye. They look over and they see the eye, then they know they got to tighten up.
Yeah. I get the whole mom thing. I don't know how many times Ty's mom got into fights with people at games and got kicked out of gyms too.
Like, just don't say anything. Keep your mouth. And so this one game, she like turns over and she's just clapping at the lady, and I'm like, oh, we're gonna have to fight our way.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
You're still gonna, if let's say you get a chance to coach your son in college, you're gonna have a great advantage over a lot of other fathers and parents, because when your parents went to games, you and Richard Morgan, all the other parents, I don't know where they were sitting if you guys could find them. Now at JPJ, they can't find us, right? Either our seats aren't as good or the stadium is much bigger.
No, your seat. You guys have good seats.
We got decent seats. Our seats are not good seats at home game. At away games, tremendous, right behind the bench. Home games, they could be better.
Home game, that corner is good. So at U-Haul, our families would sit second level, like right first couple rows, right behind the opposing team's basket. And so I always looked over, and it was kind of off to the corner. So I always would look up, I could see him. And I give him a wave, and I was ready to go. They had about similar seats to you guys.
How many people sat in U-Haul?
U-Haul held probably a little bit under 10, like 9 and some change.
Right. And so JPJ is almost double the size.
Well, 14.5 is JPJ. So
all right. Well, not quite. Yeah. All right.
I don't think we could do double.
Yeah. Whatever. I never got a chance to see you all. I'm very grateful for JPJ. I don't want to make it seem like I'm not, because I love that place.
Yeah.
Love that place. Last question. Coming from your mom.
All right.
Did you ever shoot the ball on the wrong basket?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Never.
Okay.
Never. Now, I had a teammate, I won't say his name, in a college game. We're at the free throw line. All right. Shot goes up. He gets the offensive rebound, and he almost tips it in. Now, it's a long rebound. So it's not, all right, it's not the bigs. It's not the big. So I'll give you that. It's not the big. It bounced long, so it's a guard. So now he gets it, and he's about to, like, tip it, like, back in the other team's hoop, and he realizes last second, and he just throws it away. Turnover, throws it out of bounds, but fortunately, he did not shoot it in the wrong basket. But I had a college teammate do that. I was floored that happened in college.
You want to give us the initials?
I won't give you that. I won't throw him under the bus.
All right, I'm sure. He'll appreciate that very much.
Fans that listen to this, I'll tell you this, it happened my first year. So you just got to know who was on the team my first year.
All right, maybe we'll have to get a guessing game going on the forum, something like that. That's incredible. All right, how did you have any feedback this week from last week's show?
I got some good feedback. The boys were phenomenal. Mm-hmm. The feedback I got was that Cam did a really good job. Austin, people were like, I can't believe his voice is that deep. And one of the comments in regards to the boys was, there's no mistaking that those are your kids. They look exactly like you. So that was pretty cool. And then a couple guys, former players and some buddies that I grew up with talked about they really enjoyed hearing Wizard and just going back down memory lane with Wizard being on the show. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was actually great when Richard and I spoke, and to hear him say that he's been watching this show.
Yeah.
That was awesome to know that your boys are supporting you.
So I'll tell you this: we just did Ted Jeffries and a group of folk, BBS on the road. I don't know if you know what the BBS is, but back at UVA, it was the Black Bus Stop.
Bus Stop, right?
All right. So now we got a thing, BBS on the road, where they do these parties. Well, because of COVID, we can't do parties, in different locations. We're doing Zoom virtual parties with DJs and people. Mm-hmm. Got DJs and music going all night. Well, Ted, myself, Sean Moore, Ray Roberts, those are football players. We're all on, Tony Covington, all on Zoom. And they're helping me promote the JWILLY show to a bunch of Black alumni.
Oh, great.
And so all of these folks are like, where's it at? How can I see it? I want to tune in. So I anticipate we having a few more viewers and hopefully folks will subscribe. But that should go up because we got a nice plug on BBS on the road.
Looking forward to those cats joining us and watching.
Yep.
And looking forward to seeing some of their comments. Hopefully they get on the forum
I hope so.
Yeah, and maybe they'll have some good questions for us too that no one else will know. Yeah.
I mean, but we had doctors and professors and all kind of folk from different backgrounds on the Zoom. It was pretty cool, and they all talked about how much they miss sports, and this was their way of listening to get their sports fix. So we'll give them their sports fix as long as they tune in.
Well, that's great. For Jason Williford, I'm Mark Jerome, giving you locker room access on the Jason Williford Show. See you next week.
If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Unity, the idea of the whole being greater than the sum of the parts, when you get your young men to understand that, it's huge. And even in my own life, I've been so blessed to have mentors in my life, people that have showed me the way. And I think when you can get a group of young men that understand we can touch greatness in concert with one another. If we're going to touch greatness, it has to be, as I said, in concert with others. And I think when you get young men to understand that, when they really can kind of check themselves at the door and be part of something bigger than themselves, it is powerful. And so this idea of unity, I even talked about it, we use that as, do I have a group of guys that I can lose with first before we win? Because when you go through adversity, if you're truly unified, you will stay together when the waves start slapping against the boat and people are critical or you're just not seeing results. If you truly stay unified, eventually you're going to learn from those things and you're going to become successful. But that idea of in life, you know, having the ability to understand it's not about you, it's got to be with others.